for the Zephyrs and, of course, manages the Cardinals. And Chris Stinger Maloney is the Cardinals' first base coach, who's the manager of the Zephyrs. So there's your equal opportunity. Go Redbirds. Our next speaker, a Metairie native, prepped at St. Charles Catholic before playing at Tulane from 1975 through 1999, where he was part of a memorable unbeaten 12-0 team that won the Liberty Bowl and finished the season ranked 7th in the nation in the Associated Press National Poll. Tulane, of course, has a very tall task this coming weekend. They play at undefeated Memphis at 6 p.m. in American Conference play. Please give a warm Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation Quarterback Club welcome to Jimmy Ordeneaux of Tulane. Jimmy.
How y'all doing today? I'm noticing from the bio materials it says I'm a Metairie native, and it's something I've always, and I know you probably got that from Tulane, from my old bios and what have you, and it's something I've always struggled with, is the need to be very exact, or at least when I was a kid. So, you know, you fill out a questionnaire, where were you born? I'd say Metairie, because I was born in East Jefferson. Of course, right after I was born, I moved back to Honolulu with my parents. So I'm really a St. James Parish native. Haven't lived no time in Metairie, but I'll take it anyway. I was born there, and it is my fault dating back 15 years. I knew I was coming to see this group, so I don't do as much with the radio as I once did with Tulane. I have kids 6'3" and 2, and we enjoy being fans of the new stadium, and I didn't want to have quite the commitment on the road and so forth. My wife certainly didn't want me to have that commitment. So, but because I was coming to this group, I did make my first road trip, and I went to Annapolis to watch the game. I didn't want to sell you guys short. I'd give you an eyewitness report. It was as frustrating as it was in person as you might have saw on TV. You know, and it's kind of like a string of the same frustration. If you saw the game, you know, what you really saw was an incredible effort by Coach Washington's defensive unit. I mean, you know, we completely took Navy out of what they like to do. As you all know, Navy is going to run the ball on everyone. They ran for 320 on Notre Dame. They average 360 a game or so in a year. Tulane held them to 133, 2.5 yards a carry. You know, really forced them to throw the ball as much as you could. Anything is from a schematic or strategy standpoint you wanted to do on that side of the ball, you did. I mean, you really forced them to do things they don't like to do, and you created a number of big plays. You know, for reference, Tulane ran for 123 on half the carries. I mean, in other words, we ran for 10 less yards than them on half the carries that they had. What you saw in offense was unfortunately more of the same. I think anybody who's been following Tulane knows that, you know, the special teams have been an issue for us for the past, since Santos graduated. And you saw some of that here, but then, you know, it's sort of the same thing on offense. We moved the ball really well between the 20s. You know, but, you know, when it really counted, Tulane coughed it up. And when you play Navy, you're gonna have less possessions. You expect, what, 12, 13 possessions a game against most opponents. Against the Navy, we only had 10. And so you gotta make those possessions count. I mean, they're gonna sit there, they're gonna grind the clock as much as they can. Tulane in the first half had 2-0 possessions, I'll call them, you know, 2 3-and-out type things. But then, you know, you have one where you turn it over in downs, 4th and 1 deep in their territory. You had another one where you got 2nd and 1 on Navy's 29. You look at the tie the score, false start on a receiver. You know, Cardinal rule for the baseball guys. There's Cardinal rules of football. Receivers don't get false starts, except sometimes they do. And so you go to 2nd and 6, you lose a yard and complete a pass short of the sticks. You end up having a punt out of that situation, even though you were 2nd and 1 on the 29. End of the half, you take it down 70 yards or thereabouts. You know, you get it about to Navy's 20 as the clock's running out. Tanner Lee drops a dime on the receiver's hands in the end zone. It looks like he had it. You start celebrating touchdown, and then when he goes to the ground, he coughs it up. And there you see the special teams rear its head as we couldn't even get 3 at the end of the half, missing a field goal wide. And then in the second half, you know, more of the same from the defense. The defense came out and forced Navy to give it back to us. And you know, I think that was maybe where we had a 4th and 1 turnover on downs in the second half again. And then really the drive that killed you, 17-7. You take the ball 15 plays, get it down to the Navy 1-yard line, fumble on a quarterback sneak, get the ball back. Navy takes about 5 more minutes off the clock after that to give it back to you. But then now you're in a unidimensional situation that Tulane really struggles with. Throw an interception on the next play and then a sack fumble on the next drive, and that ended the game. But I mean, it's a game of blown opportunities. Obviously, with Memphis coming in next week, Memphis is not a team that's going to allow you to stick around them if you blow opportunities. It's just kind of a frustrating thing to look at this. I'll read you. I don't want to waste too much of your time, but I'll read you a few of the quotes coming out of the game. Navy's running game coordinator says, "It was the most talented defensive line we played, and that includes Notre Dame. We told our offensive line that this was going to be one of the best defensive fronts they've seen, and I think it was. There are some guys in that front seven that can play in the NFL. Tom Herman, the week before, told his team going in, this is going to be the best defensive line we'll play all year. We're going to have our hands full." Matt Rule, the coach for Temple, who beat Tulane 49-10, said, the defense plays with swagger. They love to play. They give us all we can handle last year. We couldn't move the ball against them, and they're even better this year. Now, you look at some of these scores, you say, well, how the hell are all these people talking about Tulane's defense? Well, I think what you've kind of seen over and over again is the defense does come. They come to play. Maybe they'll give up a big play with a blown assignment here or there, but they're very talented, very physical. But then they kind of get left out there. They're on the field a lot because the offense is really, really struggling. And eventually kind of the floodgates open and things get bad. It wasn't like that against Navy. I think the offense did a better job holding on to the ball even though they couldn't capitalize. But to that point, I'm not here to say whose fault it is or whatever, it's just not working. I don't know who it is. Happy to try to answer any questions, but I don't know. But if you go back to 2014, after those first 3 games against Tulsa, Georgia Tech, and Southeastern, since that time, Tulane in its losses have scored 13, 6, 13, 14, 7, 6. And in the 5 losses this year, 7, 10, 10, 7, 14. That's 12 games sample right there. That's less than 10 points a game. You don't win any level of football doing that. Now in the 2 wins this year, 38 and 45 points against Maine and Central Florida. At least Central Florida has Division I caliber athletes. And what you see is when we have time to keep the quarterback upright, everything kind of clicks, everything falls into place. And you got explosive players in Teddy Beal and Bro on the outside. Sherman Beatty is about as much of a home run hitter at running back there is in the country. So you can get to usage and so forth. I mean, Dontrell Hilliard's a heck of a running back. But for whatever reason, the individual pieces never add up to a greater sum than the parts. It's tough to see that because, I'll leave you with this. I mean, I had a former teammate who's in sort of the player evaluation business nowadays for a scouting agency, and he says, look, man, we're looking at a whole bunch of guys. But for whatever reason, they're just not, producing results. And I mean, it's frustrating because you can see that. If you've been around the program and you look at it, you can see that there are more players on the field now than there have ever been. There's actually depth at certain positions. The defensive line in particular, you got several guys, that are too deep that can play. And Tulane's never had that. Tulane's always had Matt Forte by himself, or they had, J.P. Lossman, I guess Roydell and Weldy were together, and they had a little success. But for the most part, you've had individual players. Ryan Grant was sort of like the only guy when he was there. With Orleans, I guess, but it's 1 or 2 guys here. It's 1 or 2 skill position guys in offense. Now you finally got defensive players here. You have big arm, and I don't know that they're always doing what they need to do, but they're big. They're big and strong, and so I don't know. I'm hearing frustration, but to tell you that it maybe not as hopeless as it seems when you look at the box score, because you can see real players out there. They just need to kind of figure out how to get this thing going in the right direction. So with that, I'll take any questions you have.
Raise your hand.
Yes, sir.
You just described the coaching
block. Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that, and I mean, I'm not going to put the hat on him. I don't know who exactly is responsible for the offensive ineptitude that you see, particularly. I don't know if it's position coach, I don't know if it's scheme, I don't know if it's head coach, I don't know if it's coordinator, I don't know. I mean, I've met all these guys, I know they're good guys, they've been around football a long time, but it's not inconsistent with what you would think, what conventional wisdom would say in that situation. I agree with that.
Okay, I only caught a little bit of the game, but I did see that first scoring drive that y'all had, and it seemed like a culmination of what's going on with y'all season, because he had to convert, I think, 2 or at least 3 third and longs to score on that drive, and even on that touchdown pass, he made really good throws and on that drive. So, what I saw that the next time y'all got the ball, y'all really weren't trying to pass the ball anymore. It's like y'all just kept trying to force the run, and then throw when you had to. I don't know if that's a question or not. Is that what y'all are seeing too?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some of that. I think there's a philosophical question there in terms of what's the best way to attack. On one hand, Taylor Lee, I mean, you listen to the people coming out of Manning Passing Academy, you kind of look at the kid on the hoof and throwing the ball in. I mean, he's an impressive quarterback, and you want to get him going. On the other hand, I think, Coach Johnson particularly really sees this defense as a strength. He wants to be able to control the clock a little bit. He wants to run it. The problem is, what you're saying is when you end up in these situations where it's 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11, you really ask a lot from a group that's not that deep. I mean, you only have like 4 or 5 healthy scholarship receivers. And that's not the situation you want to be in with those guys. You want to be in a situation where you got a run-pass dilemma facing the defense, so that your tight ends and your running backs, where you really do have good skilled players, that even when you're throwing, you're getting an opportunity to throw to them in those situations. But I'm with you. And look, on that touchdown drive, you look at it, 2 of those plays that Lee made were really, really impressive. I mean, stepping up, avoiding pressure, kind of throwing on a run, and throwing some lasers. I mean, the guy can make some plays at quarterback. But yeah, you've seen a lot of that. You see it again, like I said, it's sort of like the sum is not as great as the whole of the parts. It's just you see pieces and you don't see a cohesive effort from week to week.
Anyone else?
All right. Thank you, gents.